So for this project I used my J or 6mm crochet hook and of course your pair of scissors, and I used 2 tapestry needles, a larger one that's easier just to thread the yarn by hand, and then my skinnier tapestry needle with a large eye where I can fit the eye through a bead. And in order to thread the smaller tapestry needle, I used my DMC yarn threader that looks like this. I used Red Heart Super Saver Jumbo, and this color is soft white. These are the buttons that I'm using, and I'm using these two because it closely matches the colors on my dress and pillow. And I like these because my tapestry needle with the large eye is able to fit right through it, so I can sew them on with my yarn, which is thicker and keeps them on better, less likely for them to fall off. The first thing we're going to do is just make our pillow for the base of the doll. And this pillow is just an inexpensive pillow that I got from Walmart. And I use this stuffing inside the pillow to stuff the animals that I make, the crochet animals. So this is what I have left over, and it's plenty to make a small pillow. I'm going to make a pillow about this size. So this pillow I got on sale for only $5, so that's why I grabbed it. Otherwise, you can just make your own pillows. You don't have to buy, because some of these can get pretty expensive. But if you want to buy one, that's fine too. But I'm going to show you how I'm making a pillow out of just a regular inexpensive pillow from Walmart. And this one I got for under $3. So all you have to do is just take and move the stuffing over to the size you want for your pillow, and then you're just going to take your sewing machine and just sew straight across to form a square pillow. And if you don't have a sewing machine, you can use your tapestry needle and some yarn to sew it shut, but that might take you a little bit longer, but that's an alternative that you can do if you don't have a sewing machine. I'm just going to show you with the tapestry needle how I'm going to sew my pillow closed. I just took the color yarn that I want to close it with and my tapestry needle, and I'm removing my stuffing for now, and I'm going to fold in the end of the pillow to the size that I want for my doll pillow. So here's the size that I have, and if you have a sewing machine, you can just take and sew down the edge, and then when you get down to a certain point, then you need to stuff it real quick and then sew it closed. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the end with my tapestry needle, and I'm basically doing the same thing that I would have done with the sewing machine, except I am just using my yarn to close it up, because we're going to cover this anyway, so it doesn't have to be real pretty. We're going to cover it with crochet, and I'm going to show you how I do that. And then you just take, and however you want to close yours, you just take your yarn and just go in and out. And you're just going to sew your end shut. And make sure before you sew it shut, and this is what it looks like so far. So you're going to do that with your tapestry needle all the way down until you get about right here, because you need to stuff it, and then I'll show you how to close it. So this is what my work looks like so far, and I have about this much left open. I'm going to go ahead and stuff my pillow. Now my pillow is all stuffed, so I'm going to go ahead and finish sewing shut my pillow. Now when I've reached the end and I've completely sewed my pillow shut, I can take and just tie a knot. I'm just going to go through twice. And as soon as you have it nice and secure, then you can just take your loose yarn end and just go into the pillow and just come out anywhere on the pillow, and then just cut your loose yarn end and just do the same thing with your other loose yarn end, and then you have a pillow that we're going to cover. So here is the pillow that we just made, and you can see how it makes a perfect square that we're going to cover for our doll. And here is the other one that we're going to be using. We're going to cover these with the granny square. So to make the circular cover for the pillow, we're going to start with the same color for the base or the skirt of the gown. And for mine, I'm using the Red Heart Super Saver Jumbo, and this color is soft white. And we're going to start with a magic circle. So you're going to drape the yarn across your 4 fingers, and then you're going to use your thumb to stabilize, and then you're just going to wrap the yarn around your 2 middle fingers twice, and then hold it in place with your pinky and your thumb. And then you're going to take your J or 6mm crochet hook, go under the 2 loops around the 2 middle fingers, and then yarn over and bring up a loop. And then you're going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through that loop for your slip knot. And now you're going to go under those loops again. You're going to bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through both, and then you're going to chain 1. And that's going to count as your first half double crochet. And we're going to put a total of 11 half double crochets into the magic circle. So you're going to yarn over, go under the both loops, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through all 3 for a half double crochet. So now I have 2. 3. So I'm going to show you a couple more. 5. 6. So go ahead and finish a total of 11 half double crochets into your magic circle, and then when you've finished 11 half double crochets into your magic circle, take your forefinger and thumb and hold the base of those 11 half double crochets. And you're going to have those 2 loops on the opposite side. You're going to grab one of them and then pull it to close. If it doesn't close, let go and then pull on the other one and then close it gently. Don't worry if it's not completely closed, because we can close it more later. Then grab your loose yarn end and pull it closed. Then you're going to take and we're going to do a slip stitch into that top stitch of the first half double crochet that you did. So go through that the top of the first stitch, yarn over and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. And this is how your work should look. And you can see how I have a little bit of an opening in the center, so just turn your work over if yours has that also, and just pull on that loose yarn end, and then that closes up the center nicely. Now we're going to go ahead and get a yarn marker. I'm just going to use a little bit of the excess of my loose yarn end. You can use any excess yarn that you have, or you can get a yarn marker too, whatever you want to do, and then just place it right where you left off. It just helps you keep track of where you are as you're crocheting. And now you're going to do 2 half double crochets into every stitch. So we're going to go ahead and chain 2, 1, 2, and then in the next stitch over you're going to do 2 half double crochets, and we're going to end up with a total of 22 half double crochets. So there's 1, so I'm going to do 1 more in that same stitch, and you're going to do 2 half double crochets into every stitch all the way around back to the yarn marker until you have a total of 22, and then come back. When you finished your 22nd half double crochet, we're going to do a slip stitch into that top stitch of that first half double crochet that you did. And then you're going to go ahead and chain 2, 1, 2. And we're going to start on the next round. So now we're going to do our increase round. So you're going to take your yarn marker and just move it up. And now you're going to do 2 single crochets into that next stitch. 2 half double crochets, sorry. And then you're going to do 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. And then 2 half double crochet into the second stitch, and you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. So I'll do one more set with you. 1 half double crochet, first stitch, 2 half double crochet in the second stitch, and then you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. Okay, so this is how your work is looking, and actually you're not going to need your yarn marker because you can tell when you meet up with your first half double crochet, so you can go ahead and take that out, or you can use it, whatever makes you feel more comfortable. And now we're going to do a slip stitch into that first half double crochet that we did. So you go into that top stitch, yarn over and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook to join, and then you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and now we're going to do 1 half double crochet in the next 3 stitches, so that this one counts as 1. So yarn over, go into the second stitch and do a half double crochet, and then 1 half double crochet in the third stitch, and then 2 half double crochets in the fourth stitch. And you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to where you started. So I'm going to do one more set with you. 1 half double crochet in the first 3 stitches, and then 2 half double crochet into the fourth stitch, and repeat that pattern all the way around, and then come back. Now I have 1 stitch left, so I'm just going to do a half double crochet into that last stitch, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a slip stitch into the first stitch to join that round. And now I'm going to chain 2 and get ready for the next round. Now the first half double crochet counts as 1, so in the second stitch we're going to do 1 half double crochet, third stitch 1 half double crochet, fourth stitch 1, and then in the fifth stitch you're going to do 2 half double crochet, and you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to the beginning. So again, I have 1 stitch left, so I'm going to go ahead and just do a half double crochet into that last stitch, and then you're going to do your slip stitch, and then chain 2, and then you're going to do another increase round, so that'll count as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're going to do 2 half double crochet into the 6th stitch, and you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to the beginning. Okay, so again you have 1 left, so now you're kind of seeing how I'm doing my increase pattern. We've done up to 5 now, so our next round is going to be 6, and then it's going to be 7, and then 8 and 9 and 10. So, and then to as big as you want for your pillow. So I'm going to show you this one more round. So I'm going to go ahead and do a slip stitch, and you're just going to keep repeating this for every round, increase round. So now I'm going to chain 2, and that's going to count as 1 half double crochet, and then 1 half double crochet in the second, third, fourth, 5th, 6th, and now you're going to do 2 single crochet into the 7th stitch, and then repeat the pattern all the way around. Now, for the next increase round, you're going to do 1 and 7 stitches and then 2 in the 8th stitch. So now you probably already guessed it. You're going to do 1 half double crochet into the next 8 stitches and then 2 half double crochet into the 9th stitch. Now you should be on 1 half double crochet into 9 stitches and then 2 half double crochet into the 10th stitch. This is how your work should be looking, and you can see how it's getting larger. And now I'm on the next increase round, so you're going to do 1 half double crochet into the next 10 stitches and then 2 half double crochet into the 11th stitch. Now you're going to do 1 half double crochet in 11 stitches and then 2 half double crochet into the 12th. So your work should be looking like this. If your edges are curling up a little bit, that's okay. Don't worry. We're just going to continue increasing our stitches. So now you're going to do 1 half double crochet into the next 12 stitches and then 2 half double crochet into the 13th stitch. All right. So the reason I'm showing you each round is because I've had someone say that I suddenly skipped to another round. So I'm just going to show you step by step. And now you're going to do 1 half double crochet into the next 13 stitches and then 2 half double crochet into the 14th stitch. And now you're going to do 1 half double crochet into 14 stitches and then 2 half double crochet into the 15th stitch. Now you're going to do 1 half double crochet into 15 stitches and then 2 half double crochet into the 16th stitch. So now you know how to do the increases, and you're going to need 2 of them for the pillow, and I made one of them a couple increases bigger than the other one, and this one's going to go on top and then this is going to go on the bottom of the pillow. Now when you've completed the size of increase and you're done, you're going to slip stitch into the top stitch of that first half double crochet that you made. So you just go into that top stitch, and then you're going to yarn over, and you're going to bring the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch, and then you're going to yarn over and go through that loop to finish off. And then just leave enough loose yarn end to bury into your work. Now you're going to get the circle, the smaller circle, that's going to be the top part of the pillow, and we're going to create a ruffle along the edge. So you're just going to take where you had finished off, just put your crochet hook through that stitch, and then get your yarn and go ahead and hook it and bring it through. And then you're going to go ahead and do a chain 1. Now we're going to tie a knot. And you're going to make, we can actually bury our loose yarn ends. So go ahead and grab your loose yarn ends. I have 2 of them, and I'm going to bury them as I work. So we're going to do a double crochet, so we're going to start with the chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you're going to do a double crochet into the same stitch. Go behind the loose yarn ends, bring up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2. And now you're going to do 2 double crochets into every stitch around. Going behind those loose yarn ends to bury them. So 2 double crochet into every stitch all the way around and then come back. When you get back to the first stitch, you're going to do a slip stitch into the top stitch of that first double crochet. You're going to yarn over and then pull the yarn through both loops on your hook. And now we're going to do 2 rounds of treble crochets. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to make a chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's going to count as your first treble crochet. Now we're going to do 1 treble crochet into every stitch around. And you're going to do that for 2 rows. So you're going to yarn over twice. 1, 2. You're going to go into that next stitch. You're going to bring up a loop. And now you have 4 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and go through 2. Now you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through 2. 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and go through those last 2. And then you just did a treble crochet. So I'm going to do 1 more with you. Yarn over twice. Go into the next stitch. Bring up a loop. So this is what your work's going to look like, just 1 treble crochet into every stitch around. And when you get back to your beginning treble, you're going to slip stitch into the top stitch, just like I showed you before. And then you're going to chain 4 and make another round of 1 treble crochet into every stitch and then come back. Now you can see the beautiful ruffle that it creates around the upper part of the pillow. And we're just going to finish the last row for the top portion. So this is how your work should be looking so far. You have the 1 round of double crochet and then the 2 rounds of treble crochet. And then you should have already done your slip stitch to the top. And we're going to start the last round. You're just going to do a single crochet into the same stitch. Then you're going to make a chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to skip a stitch and then do a single crochet into the next stitch over. And you can see how it makes a nice little loop. And we're going to create this loop all around the edge of the ruffle. So now you're going to chain 4. You're going to skip a stitch and then work a single crochet into the next stitch. And you're going to do that all the way around back to the beginning. You can see what it's going to look like and then come back. Now on your last chain 3, or I'm sorry, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then you're going to do a slip stitch at the base of the first chain 4 that you created. So you're going to yarn over and then just bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. And then you're going to finish off, you're going to yarn over and just pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. And then just pull it tight or snug so you have a knot there. And then you're done with the top part of the pillow, and you can see how you have a nice little frilly edge. So now we're going to sew our 2 edges together for the pillow. And I'm just taking my tapestry needle with the same colored yarn. And then I have the bottom portion of the pillow has the wrong side facing me. So here's the loose yarn end from the center of my magic circle. So the wrong side is up. And I'm going to take my other half that I have, and I'm going to put the wrong side, both wrong sides are going to be facing each other, so that the top or the bottom part of the pillow is actually facing, the right side is facing me. So now I just want to show you that this on the top part of the pillow where we did the frill, you're going to see the base of the frill right here. I just point with my tapestry needle. So here's the base of the frill, and then here's the stitch that we're going to be sewing into. So you're going to take the bottom of the pillow, and again, the bottom of the pillow, I have the right side facing me, and I'm just going to take and go into a superficial stitch, and then I'm going to take and sew into the stitch at the base of the frill. And then just make sure that you leave a long yarn end so you can bury it into your work, but go ahead and tie your knot. And I just like to make sure it has a nice secure knot. And then you're just going to sew it all the way around the same way. And you're going to leave an opening. So you're not going to sew it all the way around back to where you started. You're going to have to leave a big enough opening, which I'm going to leave around 3 of these triangles. You can see how you have a triangle towards the center. Well, I'm leaving 3 of them, which will be big enough for me to fit my pillow inside. So you're going to sew around with your tapestry needle the way that I've showed you. And then when you go all the way around, sewing it in place, and you almost come back to where you started. So here's where I'm starting. You're going to leave a big enough opening for the pillow, and then come back and I'll show you what I do next. So now you can see how you have a big enough opening that you can put your pillow inside, and it creates a really nice pillow with the frilly edge, which is what you want. And I'm going to make mine so that you can take the pillow out. That way if you need to clean it, or you don't have to leave the pillow in order to do that. So to finish making the buttons that hold it in place, go ahead and take your pillow out. And now we're just going to bury any loose yarn ends. So you're just going to take your tapestry needle, and you're just going to take the yarn and put it on the end of the tapestry needle. And then you're just going to take and weave it into your work. So you just kind of go in and out of your work with the loose yarn end, and I'm just going to go right through weave right through this area. And then once you've weaved it through your work, you can cut the loose yarn end. So go ahead and bury any loose yarn ends that you have, and then come back. So for the button straps, the first thing we're going to do is a slip knot. So you're just going to take your yarn and fold it over on itself to form a loop. And then I'm still using my J crochet hook. And I'm just going to hold the base with my middle finger and thumb. And then I'm going to make a chain. That's my slip knot. So now I'm going to start the chain. So I'm going to do chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to make a chain of 6, and then you're going to hold that last stitch with your middle finger and thumb, and we're going to move up to the next row. So you're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do a single crochet into the second chain from the hook, which is the stitch that you're holding. So you just take your crochet hook, go into that second stitch from the hook, bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through both for a single crochet. And then you're going to do a single crochet all the way back to the beginning. And then we're going to move up to the next row. So you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to turn your work. And you can see how there's a little bit of an upslope at the base of that chain 1. We're not going to work in that stitch. We're going to go to the next stitch over and work in that stitch. Do a single crochet. And then you're just going to keep doing that. Single crochet, chain 1, and turn. Okay, so go ahead and finish 22 rows of 1 single crochet into every stitch and then come back. Now, when you finish the last stitch, you're going to make a chain of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you're going to turn your work and you're going to slip stitch into the last stitch on the row. So you're going to yarn over and you're going to bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch, and then you're going to finish off. You're going to yarn over, pull enough yarn through to bury into your work, and then you have 1 button strap, so you need 2 of these, and then come back. And just remember to bury your loose yarn ends. And you need a strap made the same way that measures 30 rows. So 1 single crochet into every stitch for 30 rows. And you should have 2 button straps. And when you finish the one with 30 rows, then you're just going to yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. Now, after you put your pillow inside of your pillowcase, you're going to take your button straps and you're going to lay them where you would like to sew them. And I'm laying mine right on one side. Here's the edge, and I'm laying my button strap down here. And then on the other side, here's my other edge, and I'm laying my button strap down here. And then I'm just going to take my tapestry needle with the same colored yarn, and I'm only going to sew it on the edge of the fringe. So here is the fringe for the dress or the pillow, and I'm just going along the edge. Make sure you leave enough yarn for tying a knot, and then you're just going to go into the edge of the button strap, just on the end. And then you're just going to go sew it in place, and you can tie a knot on the other side. And then you're just going to take and sew the edge of the button strap in place, and you're going to do the same thing for the other button strap. So when you're finished sewing on your button strap and burying your loose ends, come back and then I'll show you how to sew the buttons in place. So now you should have your straps for the buttons sewn in place, and you can see how I didn't attach it to the fringe around the pillow. And now you're just going to sew the buttons in place, and you can see how the strap will come up and hook on your button. So you want to go ahead and measure where you want to put your button on the other side so that it closes your pillow nicely. And I think I'm going to put this button a little bit higher up just to make sure it stays shut. So I'm going to place my button here, And you could take the pillow out to sew your button on, or you could try and sew it on in place right here, but just be careful that you don't pierce your pillow as you sew it on. And what's nice about these buttons is that your tapestry needle will fit right through the large holes with your yarn and hold them in place. So now you can see the nice pillow on the front side, and then here's the back, and you have your buttons in place so you can remove the pillow if you need to. And if you don't like the buttons, you can just sew it all the way on, and then your pillow will just be a permanent part of the crochet work. So I'm going to go ahead and cover my other pillow that I found, and I found this at I think it was Walmart. It was on sale for like $5, but I've seen them sell these for around $9 as well. But if not, you can just make your own, like I showed you how. But this one I'm going to make for one of my grandmother's dolls, and I made it the same way that I did my other one, except that I made the top, this is the top one, I made the top one and the bottom one the same size, and then I added ruffle to one of them. So they both were with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, increased to 9. And now you just want to go ahead and bury all of your loose yarn ends. Okay, to start, I'm putting my top part of the pillow with the fringe on the edges. I'm putting it so that the wrong side is facing up. And then you're going to grab your tapestry needle with the same colored yarn. And then you're going to take the bottom piece, make sure that the bottom piece has the right side up as you sew. And then you're just going to line up how you want the edge to be. Make sure you line it up right along where the fringe. So here is my treble crochet. I have 3 rows of rounds of treble crochet, and I'm just going to line up right before the fringe, and just going to take my tapestry needle and I'm just going to sew the 2 pieces together. Make sure that you don't close it all the way, because you're going to need a big enough opening to squeeze your pillow in. So when you get to about, I'd say almost halfway, I would stop and then put your pillow in. So when you get to that point, come back and I'll show you how I put my pillow in. All right, so now I've sewed about halfway shut. And now I'm going to take my pillow and just place it inside. And now you can just take and finish sewing the 2 ends together. So now you can see my pillow is all done, and here's the other side. So you can take your tag off if you want to. I went ahead and just left mine in, but this is what my pillow looks like.